Hello, everyone, and welcome back to It's Okay Not to Be Fabulous Every Day. I'm Cyrus Webb, joined by my co host, award winning author, Dalsimer. Glad you all could join us on the simulcast on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and on X. Also, going to welcome those tuning in over on Instagram so they can be a part of our chat. And last but certainly not least, going to connect with our friends over on Amazon Live so we can get into today's show. And if you guys are just joining us, this is season 2, actually week 2 as well, and it's a
Mhm.
really good message for today. Hope you guys will be able to enjoy it, and of course we want to hear your feedback as well. And we're now live on Amazon Live with It's Okay Not to Be Fabulous Every Day with Dalsimer and myself. I'm going to type you guys a quick welcome message over there on Amazon. I want to thank you guys too. I didn't tell you before we went live, our show was number 3 on Amazon yesterday. So thank you all so much for your
Yes.
support of Allie and my conversation then. It's a totally different one today. But we're glad you all can be with us. If you're joining us on Amazon, make sure you guys get Allie's book. You'll see it either here in this corner or down below. And we also will let you guys know how to stay connected with Allie and also sign up for her newsletter as well. Allie, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Cyrus. How are you today?
I'm doing really good. Thank you so much for asking. Really appreciate it. Dr. Norman McLaughlin, hello to you over there on IG. Glad to be able to see you too. Allie, I was saying to you before we went live here, today's message in the book is actually one of my favorite messages in the book, even though I have several favorites. But I think it's one also that's very timely for our audience, and especially when it comes to thinking about the direction that they're in. Before we get into your reading today's message, I do want to ask you about that because
Okay.
you're in an interesting position as the writer of this book to know what that feels like. What was it like for you to make those changes in your own life, Allie, of being on one path, but making a decision to go on another path, like being an author?
Yeah, that's actually a really great question because when I wrote the book, I certainly had no intention of changing my life path.
Hmm.
And I was, doing whatever I was doing. And it wasn't until later, after the book came out and I received some positive feedback, and also just in the process of going through the process, discovering that I really enjoyed it. Like I enjoyed the process of writing.
Hmm.
And then I thought, you know what, maybe this is something I want to do. So, literally I changed the path I was on. I changed the course of my life, and you know, shut one door, opened that window, and ended up doing exactly what I had written about as advice to my kids and ultimately others, and knowing in my heart that it really was okay. Like there's still time to do this. You can do this.
Yeah.
That it was almost like I had given myself permission proactively to do it.
Yeah, I love that. And this is really, like I said, I just thought to ask you that question. It's a great thing about doing these live shows. I just thought about asking you that because I think for a lot of people, I've always said myself, Allie, that when people ask me what I wanted to be, I've always just wanted to do two things, write and draw. Now, I've been
Mhm.
fortunate to do that, but also other things. For yourself, did you always think that you could do the and? I have had a lot of conversations with people who feel like they have to choose. It's either this or that. Have you always known that you could be able to achieve one dream and still be able to do other things?
No, no, I really didn't. I wasn't perhaps raised um, in the same sort of environment you were, maybe.
Okay.
And so for me, I just always felt that, if I'm being honest, I just always felt that I was a failure and nothing I ever did was good enough, regardless of what I accomplished. It was never good enough.
Mm.
And that was certainly the feedback that I received. And so it never really occurred to me to pursue a dream. I had dreams when I was a kid, but then I just kind of fell into a job, and then that led to something else, and then that led to something else, and I ended up going on these interviews. And I I went on there's this one day found myself back in DC, and I went on two interviews in a day. In the morning I went to this nonprofit environmental firm, in the afternoon I went to a corporate law firm. And I remember laying in bed that night and thinking that that it was just so stuffy in that corporate office, and I really enjoyed the vibe of the natural resources position, and also thought that by the end of the day I'd be doing something good. I'd be, helping. And so I ended up taking that job, and that led to a 30-year career. So I never really pursued a dream. I just sort of fell into things, and it really wasn't until choosing to move into the author and speaker and motivation space that I actually made an active choice to pursue something I really wanted to pursue.
Wow. Well, I think that's a great segue then, Allie. Thank you so much for sharing that into today's message. I'm going to turn it over to you.
Okay. All right. There's still time to change the road you're on. Led Zeppelin. When we are young, we dream and wish and hope, not for material goods, but for meaning filled lives and lofty intangibles. To be a firefighter, brave and daring. To go to space, exploring and adventuring. To become a nurse or doctor, helping and healing. Or to raise amazing kids, nurturing. Too often we put off dreams until they wither from neglect or are overcome by events. As we age and take on increasing responsibilities, it's easy to become mired in the mundane minutiae of our day to day lives. We forget the wonder and excitement we once felt when imagining our futures. Taking time to self reflect, to rediscover our passions, helps us redefine our vision for a purpose filled and successful life. Our dreams at 30 or 50 or 70 may be the same, or they may be different from when we were 3, 5, or 7. Perhaps now is the time to rediscover what you want to be when you grow up, even if the dream is now different from when you were 3. And I don't mean, gosh, I'd love to win the lottery and own a bunch of stuff. Material goods make our lives easier and definitely provide temporal pleasures. True self fulfillment, on the other hand, comes from life's intangibles, like going on adventures or creating art or helping others or loving. We must ask ourselves, what truly and deeply fulfills me? What activities make me authentically happy? Once we know that, we can identify and define our path, boldly taking the first step on our 1,000-mile journey. The key is remembering that our path is one of self discovery as well as of achievement. As such, our endpoints may morph and modify as we ourselves grow and change. If your dream is genuine, you'll enjoy working to achieve it. If you set SMART, SMART targets, periodically reevaluating your progress and endpoint, you will get there. And if you never find time to do what's needed to propel you closer to your dream, some inner reflection might help. Perhaps your dream is instead one that someone else wants for you, an idea you grew up presupposing based on inputs you received, rather than a desire you've generated from within. Because it's not a chore to work towards achieving your desires. The first part of taking charge of our lives is the worst part: change. That's because change is hard. It's hard because embracing change requires faith in ourselves and in our dreams, as well as a willingness to accept failure as part of the process. But what have you got to lose? If you're dissatisfied with your life and your path, then take a chance, make a change. There's no point in worrying or stressing about a future that doesn't yet exist. Believe in yourself and your dream. Pursuing your ambitions by engaging in actions that deliver you ever closer to your dream will bring joy and positivity into your heart, your life, and the lives of those with whom you interact. Your certainty and confidence will grow with each step you take.
You know, it's interesting, Ellie. This is one of your more lengthy messages in the book, but I think there's so much in this, and I think by the time people get to this message, there's so much for them to reflect on. So I want to first of all talk about something that you mentioned because, I have said in my own life, I'm a very simple guy. That's how I see myself, at least. At least. And as I was saying earlier, I've always just wanted to write and draw. And so you say in this particular message, our dreams at 30 or 50 or 70 may be the same or maybe different from when we were 3, 5, and 7. And let me tell you what came to me. And this is why I think going through this book is good for myself as well as for others, Allie, because it also reminds me that maybe I'm a person who has continued to think small.
Hmm.
And I think I know that's a reverse of maybe what you intended when, with the message initially being that we may think grander when we're younger. But what has it been like for you to think about how a lot of times people do either feel like their dreams are unattainable, or maybe they put themselves in a box where their dream is not something that they feel like they're worthy of?
Yeah. So I think the first part of the answer would be that I'm not sure that when we're small, our dreams are either lofty or small per se. I
Okay.
just think our dreams are limitless because we're not yet constrained by societal norms or expectations. And so
Okay.
we're as young kids, we are much more in touch with our inner selves, with what brings us joy. We know if we're happy or sad. Life is
Right.
very simple when you're 3 or 4 or 5. Ice cream is good.
Hmm.
And having to wear a tie is bad or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
But when we get older, especially once we start school and we start interacting more with peer groups and whatnot, then I think we begin to lose touch with our inner selves. We lose that connection that we have when our world is smaller,
Hmm.
because we are the center of our universes when we're little. And so we
Yeah.
know what we want. We know what we like. We may not be able to articulate it. Like I say, you may say you want to be a fireman. Well, you may not really want to be a fireman, but as a kid, you're attracted to the things that career represents.
Yeah.
And and then as we get older, we lose touch with that, I think.
Yeah.
Um, in terms of trying to reconnect with that, I think it's a matter of turning in again, of listening uh, to yourself and really being open and aware of the emotions and thoughts you're having in different situations. If you have a job and you're like, yeah, it's my job, it's good, I love it, but every morning's like, oh god, the alarm's going off, okay, I got to get dressed, I got to go to work, fine, I'm at work, and then you lose yourself at work and you're like, okay, it's all good, but at the end of the day you're drained.
Yeah.
I would say, maybe that's what you need to be doing, but maybe it's not.
Hmm.
Because if you really enjoy what you're doing, and I've had jobs that I loved, and I'm like, yes, let's get up, let's get dressed, let's get to work. I get to work early. I'm excited. By the end of the night, I'm energized. It's like, oh my gosh, what do you mean it's 6 o'clock already?
Yeah.
Um, that's a very different sort of mentality.
Yeah. I love that. I love the fact that one of the bold messages you have in the book, in this particular message, Allie, is our path is one of self discovery as well as of achievement. And I thought to myself that those are a lot of times we try to combine those two when they really are very distinct things, right? Because a lot of times we're just thinking about the achievement of getting the degree or getting the promotion or having a certain title instead of how we became that person and how we kind of evolved as we became that person. What has that been like for you to do, to think about your own journey of self-discovery?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's interesting because even before I decided to pursue this, I remember I took a job. It was a lot closer to home and my son was small and I wanted to, spend more time with him. And I thought, you know what, I can do any job, whatever. It doesn't matter. I can do any job. And it doesn't, I'm fine. Well, that's because I was pretty lucky in that the jobs that I had, I really enjoyed. Like I enjoyed pretty much every job I've had, except for this one.
Oh.
And I won't go into the details of it because it's irrelevant.
Yeah.
But this particular job did not spark joy. It was not interesting. I remember one morning I was sitting in the parking lot and I thought, oh, okay, I can do this. And going in, and after 3 weeks, I was like, this is just not the job for me. I was mistaken. I cannot do any job. And so I began looking for something else. Life's too short. Life is way too short to be that unhappy for 8 hours a day.
Yeah.
That's a big chunk of your day. That's half your waking hours. And it's really important that you're happy with what you spend your time doing, regardless of what that is.
I love that. And I'm with you. I've had the privilege of having different jobs, but enjoying them all, from bagging groceries at a grocery store to being a night manager, at a hotel. I mean, I enjoy them all. I love that. It goes though to another message though on page 47 of the book though, Allie, to the point I was making earlier about our path is one of self discovery as well as
Oh,
achievement. You say there, as such, our endpoints may morph and modify as we ourselves grow and change. If your dream is genuine, you will enjoy working to achieve it. I think there's a lot of power in that too, because you do show that we as individuals should be evolving. Have you always been okay with the idea of that? That what may bring you enjoyment and satisfaction, yesterday may not be that thing today.
Absolutely. Yeah, I've always been like that. People grow and change, and if you don't grow and change, you stagnate.
Yeah.
And if you've ever had that one friend, we've all had one at some point in our lives, I think, who is exactly the same, like from 20 years before, right? They're doing the same things. Their personality is the same. They just really haven't changed, and they don't really seem that happy. They seem content. At least the
Right.
one person I'm thinking of, seems very content.
Hmm.
I don't know if I would call contentment joy.
Yeah.
Um, and I feel like they're missing out, but also, just to be kind of mean about it, but they're kind of boring, right? Like you got nothing going on in your life except the same thing you've had going on in your life for the last 35 years.
Yeah.
Um, so I think it's really important that you be open to change and that you try new things and experience new things, because in trying new things and in putting yourselves in new situations, at least for me, you discover what you like, what you don't like. And I've learned things about myself that I didn't know. It's like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, wow. Well, like
Yeah.
being an author. Wow, I really like this. Who knew? I would
Right.
never have known if I hadn't tried something new.
Yeah.
So I think it's just really important to to push yourself. There's a lot of sayings that talk about like leaning into discomfort or whatever it is. And there's just so much truth in that, because you have to lean into different areas that are unfamiliar just to see whether or not it clicks with you. And you might be surprised and realize, oh my gosh, I really love XYZ, which I wouldn't have known if I hadn't given it a try.
Exactly. I want to reset real quick, Allie. I see you guys giving us the hearts over there on Amazon. Appreciate that. And also appreciate you guys over on IG and YouTube too. My PR team, hello to you. Yes, the book is It's Okay Not to Be Fabulous Every Day by Allie Dalsimer. That's what we're discussing. This is our weekly series that we do with Allie based on her book. You all can see the title there. Today, our message is a really cool one. And this is season 2 for those who are just being able to join us. But the message is found on page 45 of Ellie's book. There's still time to change the road you're on, is what we're talking about. How growing up, maybe you had goals and dreams for yourself, and maybe a thought greater things for yourself that maybe you're not living out today, that it's not too late to make those changes. So, Ellie, what would you say to our audience? Maybe they are listening to this conversation and thinking, you know what? Ellie's right. I said I wanted to do this. I wanted to challenge myself in this way. What would you say to them about that first step, Ellen?
The first step is absolutely the hardest. We've talked about the journey of 1,000 miles and how it begins. The saying is that it becomes with that first. It starts with that first step, and I have always said it comes with making the choice to take that step.
Yeah.
Right? Because before you can take the step, you have to actually be like, okay, I can do this. I can do this, and you have to decide to take the step.
Hmm.
So it's the absolute hardest part, is getting started. But it's the Newton's law, right? An object in motion stays in motion, and once you start, it's much easier to keep going. The next step is easier, the one after that is easier and easier and easier, and it builds in this positive feedback loop. And the subtitle of the book is A Journey to Self-Discovery, and so this particular chapter talks about the journey to self-discovery and
Yeah.
how it's okay to change the path you're on, because you're learning who you are and what you like. And that's a lifelong process. That doesn't stop. It's like, oh, for me, I'll just talk about me. Oh, I've decided I enjoy being an author and speaker, and yay, that's what I'm going to do. Well,
Yeah.
what if 5 years from now I realize, wow, I've just learned how to do XYZ. Gee, I really like that. Maybe I'll go do that. So I think it's important to stay open and flexible and realize that you have the choice. I was actually having a conversation with someone just a few days ago, as it happens, and we were having this talk about both of us had discovered new career paths later in life, and we shared our reminiscence of when we were younger, like when we went to school or did whatever, we picked our career. that was it. We had to stay there, right? There was no choice. Like when I went to college, it was like, okay, I went to college and it wasn't really a right fit. I loved my school and I met some great people there and I had a great time. It wasn't really a right fit for me. Like it
Yeah.
wasn't quite the right fit for me. But you didn't leave because, you know, you couldn't leave. There was no one telling me I couldn't, but that was just how society sort of constrained us or how we allowed society to constrain us. So, you know, for instance, when my kids went off to school and it's like, well, that's not a right fit. I'm like, transfer, transfer, you know,
Yeah.
don't spend 4 years there, go somewhere else.
Right.
And I think that that's a nice shift that society now is a little more open in that way, but it also comes from within. We have to give ourselves permission and you know say it's okay to change. Um, and then once we do that, we have to be like, okay, now we're going to do it. So,
I love that. That goes into what you say in this particular message. You say this: if you are dissatisfied with your life and your path, then take a chance and make a change. And I think that's really so. The ball is really in our court. So it's a great reminder for us. Again, everyone, it's okay not to be fabulous every day. The book by Ali Dalsimer. You all are watching our series here, really to not only be able to, as you heard Ali say, be able to think about your own journey of self discovery, but also the changes that you can be able to make that are in your control as well. The book's available here on Amazon. You all can get it in print. You can get the Kindle edition as well as the audiobook as well. Ali, let our audience know how can they stay connected with you and also sign up for the newsletter.
I will. I want to say one final thing, and that
Yeah,
is
sure. Yeah.
if you move in a direction that really is more in line with who you are and what you want, the universe, I really believe the universe conspires to help you succeed. And you will find that it helps propel you forward. And if you're in some place where you don't need to be, there tend to be obstacles. So listen and be aware of that as well. As for me, you can find me mostly on Instagram. It's where I'm most active under my name, Ali Dalsimer, and definitely sign up for my newsletter. It's filled with tools and resources and links that help you deal with different life circumstances. And I also give author updates and a little inside sneak peek. I do have a project coming up that I'm going to announce there soon. And you can get that at alidalsimer.com/newsletter.
Love it. Ali, another great message. Really enjoyed this. Looking forward to next week with you.
Me as well. And thanks to everybody for tuning in.
Exactly. And we definitely thank you all for watching. It's okay not to be fabulous every day. Until next week, you all make it a great one. We'll talk to you soon. Take care.